All right, so my name is Catherine Fitzsimmons. I am an author and the owner of Brainlag, a publisher of science fiction and fantasy novels based in Milton, Ontario. My latest book, The Unseen Force, is the second book in my Sisters of Chaos trilogy. It's coming out in 2 weeks from today. So check it out on my website, brain-lag.com, and you can pre-order it online. And I will also add that any books ordered directly from Brainlag are printed on 100% recycled paper here in Canada. So you can feel good about the books you get. So I'm going to read part of my main character's first scene in chapter 3. So in this scene, this is about the second half of the scene. Prior to this, it was just an introduction to the main character, who has returned to her hometown after adventures in the kingdom's capital with a reputation that is not entirely true, but is pervasive all the same. So she's dealing with a lot of distrust from the people that she's grown up around, everyone in her home, essentially. The sky had grown golden and the shadows long when Damien stepped out of the house again, wrapped in a cloak that was warmer than she needed. Liam silently followed her as she raised the hood. Few people remained outside, and the voices that had filled the streets now drifted out of windows, along with the clanking of dishes and aromas of 100 meals. Damien stared down the street, her vision narrowed by the sides of the hood, and saw scarce few people, most of whom hurried toward their destinations. She caught a glimpse of one man just down the street who merely watched her. In or out of armor, that man had become a very common sight. She let her feet carry her down the streets without much thought about where she was going. Lost in her own thoughts, her attention drifted down as she kicked a rock along in front of her. Eventually, her eyes moved to Liam, striding silently alongside her. He had been a rock to her on the long journey home from Albrecht over a season ago, a beacon of light among the surly and distrustful city guards who escorted her, along with the villagers who immediately recognized the yellow-eyed witch from the Battle of Albrecht. She had clung to that support even after returning to Aether and had rarely left her house without Liam by her side. Yet she knew who he really was. The cold-blooded murderer he had clearly left behind, but who still haunted his steps, and the isolated wanderer who lived like a creature of the forest. Will being here prove too much for him? She wondered, not for the first time, and I'll wake up one morning to find him gone? Or worse, was he only staying because she wanted him to? How are you feeling about, she asked hesitantly, waving her hand vaguely at the town around them, all this? Her voice trembled, equally guilty that she had not asked him before and afraid of his answer. He frowned faintly, and she was surprised at the amount of uncertainty showing in his eyes. It is strange. He glanced at her, never showing any discomfort or reaction at all to her yellow eyes. His gaze softened. But it's nice to feel welcomed. His smooth, low voice rolled over her as he spoke in his slow, measured way. Suddenly, he looked away, almost as if embarrassed. Change often brings meaning to someone's life, even if it isn't entirely welcome. Damien gave him a wan smile. I think I know what you mean. Memories washed over her. The Battle of Albrecht and her journey leading to it felt like a lifetime ago and like it was just last week at the same time. The words spilled out as they walked. After all that we went through, we helped save Albrecht, facing a Moloch, dealing with the goddess of chaos. After all that, trying to pick up my normal life again feels like I'm forgetting to do something important. I want to focus on those normal things, to sew clothes and cook meals and help my father, but it's not enough. It doesn't satisfy me. She shook her head. It doesn't make any sense. It does to me. Liam's response was soft, but shockingly earnest. Damien turned to him and his eyes met hers, without flinching, as with every time he had looked looked at them. The corner of her mouth quirked almost into a smile, and his features softened in response. She faced forward. I don't know what to do. Damien had been walking without purpose, but she wasn't surprised to find she had ended up across from an open green space arranged with stone markers inside the village. She turned and strode between the headstones on the trodden grass path, Liam silently following. Her eyes rose toward the statue at the center of the field, but when she saw the marble likeness of the goddess of life, Damien's steps faltered. She turned to give the statue a wide berth as she made her way to one of the back rows of markers. One other person stood within the graveyard, but Damien didn't bother looking. The other should hurry away soon enough. Near the back corner of the graveyard, Damien stopped before an old plot. It felt strange to be standing before the headstone without an offering to place before it, but the thought of leaving anything for the goddess of life made her stomach clench. It seemed that all the gods did was demand things of their followers. Damien glanced toward the statue at the center of the graveyard from the corner of her eye, then shivered. The thought of the goddess of life, Ganadu, used to comfort her. Damien returned her attention to the headstone. Her father had taught her to read. He could have supplied more information on the marker, but he had left it as simple as the headstones around it. Only a name was carved into its face. Ithne Sires. I used to wonder what she would have thought of me. Liam said nothing, nor did Damien expect him to. However, she never doubted that he was listening. I don't know anything about her. I mean, people have told me I look like her, and occasionally I would do something that made my father or someone say that was her influence. But no one likes to speak ill of the dead. The way my father speaks of her, she was a paragon. Maybe she was. I'll never know. The only way I know her is through stories, other people's memories. I can only guess. Damien lifted a hand, staring at her palm and remembering the magic that surged out of it what seemed so long ago now. She let out a sigh. Sometimes I think I'm better off not knowing what she thought. Lowering her hand, she stared at the carved words on the headstone, the only true definition and knowledge she had of her mother. A noise of wry mirth drifted over the cemetery grounds. Would that any of us could speak with the dead. Damien turned her head. The lone person she had seen when she entered the graveyard stood 3 plots down, a wizened figure wrapped in a dark cloak with the hood over her head. The old woman reached a hand out to a headstone before her, engraved with 4 names. But justice is too fickle, and life not nearly enough. Damien's gaze drifted away, an uncomfortable look crossing her face as she rubbed her arm. The crone's dry, gravelly voice continued, Sometimes I wonder if the gods watch over us at all. A shiver passed through Damien as she thought of her experiences with gods both familiar and not. Niabi, endowed with the power of the gods of light. The voice of Nefrita that had whispered through Damien's mind. A fragment of a talisman in Trent, blessed by one of the gods of time. You might be surprised, Damien replied quietly. The crone gave a dry chuckle. Damien found a grin on the old woman's wrinkled face. I have lived a long time and seen much. Little would surprise me now. She turned to face Damien as she spoke. The old woman's eyes were faded and rheumy, smoky gray with a large fleck of brown at the bottom of her right eye. Damien cleared her throat. I haven't seen you in Aether before. Nobody speaks of what I do. The old woman spoke without bitterness. I am just an old woman who helped her small family herd sheep outside town. It is my lot in life. Some people will ever be merely spokes in the wheel of fate. Some people are born different. Damien's eyes drifted to her mother's name on her headstone. Had I been touched with greatness, the crone went on, perhaps my life would have been different. Damien glanced at Liam, reading nothing in his expression. She felt simultaneously larger and smaller, a shiver rippling over the back of her neck. She tried to think of something to say in response to the old woman. Miss Sayers. Damien spun at the call. A man she recognized as a warehouse worker entered the graveyard grounds, holding his side and panting. He paused to bow to the statue of Ganodiu and held his hands and face up toward the sky before continuing toward Damien, something small and light in his hand. Letter came for you on the ship came in this afternoon, right? He held up the folded page. Would have left it with your pa, only we were told it was supposed to go straight to you. He paused to heave a breath, handing her the letter. Took some time to find someone to read it, and then you weren't home, right? She blinked, taking the note. Thank you. As he turned to leave, she added, Oh, wait. She reached into a pocket secreted within her sleeve and handed him a small silver coin. For all your trouble. He grinned as he took it, standing a little straighter. You take care, miss, right? With that, he turned and jogged away through the graveyard. Damien watched him go, faintly realizing that the crone had left during the exchange. Damien looked down at the folded note, staring at her name written in clean script. The seal on the reverse was marked with a fancy M. Breaking the seal, she opened the letter, though she looked first at the end to read the signature. It's from Garrick, she uttered in surprise. Unfolding the page, she read the note. Damien, I hope this message reaches you safely. Dark clouds are gathering and I need your help. Niabi has emerged in Adan and she's gathering an army to help reclaim the gods of light's grip over Eldera. I know this is wrong. After what she did to you and me and during the Battle of Alberth, I have no doubt that this will end in blood. A lot of it. She has to be stopped, but the Agassi's hands are tied. We can't march into Adan without risking war. I can't just sit here and do nothing, but I can't do anything alone. This is a dangerous gambit. I know that you're aware of the sympathy people have for her and the gods of light. I can't speak to anyone about this, and I don't think I need to tell you that neither can you. Even my fellow knights don't believe that she is so dangerous. However, you know better than anyone what she's capable of and how far she will go to achieve her goals. If you don't want to get involved, I'll understand. I won't expect a response. If you're willing to help me, however, come to Misengrad. I will find a way to meet you here. Sincerely, Sir Garrick Magni. A swell of emotion rocked through Damien as she read the letter. The last time she saw Garrick, he gave her a cryptic farewell after throwing her to the wolves at the meeting with the king in Alberth. When she read that he was asking for her help without so much as an apology, anger surged through her. That rage faded quickly with the thought of Niabi leading an army through Adan and possibly into Fenaria. Garrick faded from her mind as she became lost in memories of Niabi. Liam's shifting brought her mind back to the present. Clearing her throat, Damien refolded the letter and hid it in her sleeve. It's about Niabi. Liam's gaze intensified. What did she say? She's building an army. She wants to reclaim Adan and Fenaria, everywhere for the gods of light. Merely speaking the words left a bitter taste in her mouth. As she looked at her mercenary companion, she saw that he looked ready, and she realized that she felt the same way.